Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. We've been hinting at the last couple of days that the transfer stuff is starting to kick off, and I know a lot of people want to focus in on the sale of Manchester United, but this is a significant story coming in this morning. We spoke about it yesterday. There is genuine interest in Mason Mount for Manchester United. Well, that genuine interest has spiked massively this morning. A raft of UK outlets pushing this story that Ten Hag wants Mason Mount to Manchester United. He wants it done quickly and he wants it done for £55 million. And that has blown the bloody doors off on the start of this transfer window, because I'm going to say right here that this is the Frankie de Jong of this summer. This is the story that's got the most credibility, the most weight behind it, and this is this transfer story that's starting the Man United summer transfer window. Whether we get him or not, I don't know, but this is genuine. This is interest. I was told this yesterday. We spoke about it yesterday, and now it's coming through again. It's definite interest for Manchester United. It's definitely a player that Erik Ten Hag wants. Is it a player that you want at Manchester United? We're going to do a poll. We're going to get into the story. Mason Mount, it's a simple poll if you're in the chat. Mason Mount, yes or no? Get your comments in there. And before we get into that story, as you can see on my left, we're sponsored by Boohoo Man this morning. I've got a great quiz question for you this morning, actually. But as you can see, I'm chilling out in my Boohoo Man hoodie. You can get yours with 40% off with the code Goldbridge. Link is in the video description, or you can scan the QR code. Where you're looking in your wardrobe this morning, I really need to get my words out. Look, if you're looking to liven up your wardrobe this morning, get 40% off with Boohoo Man. They do all sorts of clothing, whether it's gym wear, relaxing wear, shorts and t-shirt combos for holidays. 40% off with the code Goldbridge. You can get loads and loads of great stuff. And as you guys probably know by now, Boohoo Man always comes up with a bit of trivia for us on their promos, and today is going to be no different, so let's see if you can get this one. I was born on August the 7th, 1992. I started my career at Willem II in Eredivisie. I have played 21 games for the Netherlands, scoring 5 goals. I signed for a Premier League club in 2022, but later, you'll get it now, went on loan to Besiktas, and I'm currently on loan at Manchester United, where I was part, no matter what anybody says, of the team that won the Carabao Cup. Who am I? Of course, it's the man, it's the legend, it's Wout Weghorst. Congratulations if you got that. A big thank you to Boohoo Man for supporting today's watch along, and don't forget 40% off when you use the code Goldbridge. Scan that QR code next to me or go through the link in the video description. Big shout out to Boohoo Man. But I'm grateful for Boohoo Man then, because I wanted to get the poll on Mason Mount up and running before I came to the story. So that's bought me a bit of time. Don't forget to check out Boohoo Man. But look, this is the headline. This is the story that we're going to give you. It's coming in from so many different places this morning. But let me just give you a selection of a few. Man United are preparing a 55 million swoop for Mason Mount. He's one of Erik Ten Hag's primary targets heading into the transfer window, and he wants a deal wrapped up quickly. Sources have indicated that talks with Mason Mount's side will begin shortly. Manchester United see him at around £55 million, £30 million under Chelsea's valuation. Given Erik Ten Hag's interest in the player, there may be a chance to increase the valuation for Chelsea. Arsenal are also interested in Mason Mount. Meanwhile, Liverpool are actively pursuing a deal. Pochettino would like to keep him at Chelsea. Erik Ten Hag is encouraging the Man United hierarchy to make the first formal bid for Mason Mount, thus getting ahead of Liverpool and Arsenal. A Chelsea exit is looking more and more likely. So it's a stunning story this morning around Mason Mount to Manchester United, or Mason Mount genuine interest to Manchester United. 60% of you have said no, you wouldn't want him. 40% have said yes. My opinion on this, honestly, I get it. I actually understand why Ten Hag wants him, and I suppose I'll start on the positive. I think he wants him because it's very, very clear, whether we agree with it or not, that Erik Ten Hag thinks he wants one holding midfielder, one attacking box-to-box midfielder, and Bruno. And I think that's the way that he wants to play. Mason Mount, by the way, has got 1 year left on his contract. I don't know what Chelsea think they're doing trying to get £80 million for him. There ain't no way. I don't think he's worth more than 50 with a year left on his contract. It's English tax again. Only we would sign Mason Mount for 55 million. Teams like Liverpool would get him for 30 or 35 million, says Navin. He's massively overpriced. He's had a bad season. He wants to leave. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He ain't worth 55 million. He isn't. But you know what it is about Mason Mount as well? James Cave, welcome to the Members Club. You know what the thing is about Mason Mount? You know why he's worth so much money? Or you know why people want him? I'll tell you why. He was a decent player before this season, and Chelsea have had a bad year anyway. He's only just 24, and he's English. So you know you get a player who's probably got another 6 years who can get better before they hit their prime. They're English, so it hits homegrown. It's pure English tax, and like some people take that offensively, but it's pure English tax. He's homegrown, he's young, and yeah, that's why you overpay. You'll find Mason Mount 20 times across Europe for 40 million. Easily. You'll find 20 Mason Mounts around Europe for 40 million. But it's the homegrown thing. That's why Liverpool want him. That's why Arsenal want him. That's why Man United want him. He's a decent player. There's no doubt about that. The reason Erik ten Hag wants him, though, is because look at Man United under Erik ten Hag. Consistently, it's one holding midfielder, and then it's an attacking midfielder box to box, and an attacking midfielder as a 10. And it's Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. Consistently does that. So if you bring Mason Mount in, he can play the Bruno role, but he can play the Eriksen role, and he's got more legs than Eriksen has got. I think he comes into that team as a direct replacement for Christian Eriksen. I think that's what Ten Hag is looking at. Now, whether you like that or not, it's very obvious that that's the way that Ten Hag wants to play. He wants people who can get on the ball and be dynamic. Now, obviously, we have been a very defensive side this year, and I don't think we've seen the evidence or the plan that Erik ten Hag wants to implement. I think he wants us to be a 70% possession team. I think he wants us to play a higher up the line, higher up the pitch. I think he wants us to be in the final third a lot more. And therefore, you know, Casemiro as the defensive breaker on his own, with then Mason Mount and Bruno supplemented by wingers and an attacker, it works. The problem is, can Erik ten Hag implement this to the Premier League? Because if he can't, we're going to get overrun in the midfield like we have done this season. I don't like Eriksen next to Casemiro away from home. I think our record away from home is abysmal because we get overrun in the midfield. Well, if we go to Anfield next season with Mason Mount, Bruno and Casemiro, just because Mason Mount's a little bit more mobile, I still think you get overrun. I think away from home, you need more bite in the midfield. You need a Casido. You know, you need a Declan Rice. But I think Mason Mount, I've seen a lot of people going, why Mount? Why Mount? We've got Bruno. We don't need another attacking midfielder. I think he's an Eriksen. I think he wants to play him in the midfield three with Bruno and Bruno and Casemiro. I don't mind Mason Mount, to be honest, but does he have the attitude and commitment to play for United, do you think, says Ray? I don't mind if we're actually stealing him from Liverpool and Arsenal. Things are going to heat up. Hopefully our owners will be sorted soon, says John. There's good reason Klopp, Arteta and Ten Hag want Mount, and Poch would sooner keep him. English or not, he's very decent, says SB. Philip says, welcome to the Members Club. And to compete with the best, we have to ask the question of would Man City sign Mount? And they wouldn't. Mount isn't good enough. Also, 55 million is a no, says Tom Blake. Welcome to Members Club. Philip, hi Mark. If you had to choose one, would you rather get Mount for 50 million or Rabiot for free? Jordan, I think I'd go Rabiot because Rabiot's more defensive minded. You know, we do need a more defensive-minded midfielder. Chelsea out here with bigger poker faces than Glazers. We all know they need to sell for financial fair play regulations. We can't get Mount. We can get Mount for way cheaper, says Naveen. Mark, I'm conflicted. Mount has proven himself as a good player and I'd take him over Rabiot, but there's many more players I'd take over both, says Elijah. All right, I'm just going to have my say now. 61% of you wouldn't take Mason Mount, right? I understand that. I never thought Mount was any good. 3 years ago, I thought he was overrated. And then for the last 2 years, I've been really impressed with him. And then the last year, I don't know where he's been. So there are concerns on a player that it's a bit like Tielemans. I'd rather have James Maddison, says Ramo. I'd rather have Mason Mount than Maddison, by the way. My concern with Mason Mount is his career has fell off a cliff at 24. I get that Chelsea have... You'll get people saying, well, all Chelsea players have been bad this year, but he's Chelsea through and through. Like, that's a bit like Man United having a bad season and Paul Scholes having a bad season. It's like, well, he's Man United through and through. He gets what Man United's all about. He shouldn't be having a bad season. So I'm really surprised by Mason Mount this season. Really, really surprised. Is he a bad egg, like someone said in the chat? Is he just overrated? Is it the Dele Alli effect? Is he going to fall off a career? Is his career going to fall off now? Mason Mount should not be leaving Chelsea. He's Chelsea through and through. He should be at Chelsea for life. Why is he leaving Chelsea? What is in him that makes him want to leave his boyhood club? That's got to be questioned. Like, are we getting a mercenary here? Is there a legitimate reason that he's been crap and unsettled at the club that he loves? It worries me when a player falls off for a year, because it makes you think, well, in 2 or 3 years' time, when he's not in our team, does he start throwing his toys out the pram and wanting to move from us as well? I like players that even when the going gets tough, they'll keep going. And I worry about that about Mason Mount. It doesn't make sense. On a positive, I do think he's a good player. And I do think if you can get him playing well, it'd be a major asset. It's just not the midfielder I want. I want a more combative midfielder. I'd rather have Declan Rice over Mason Mount. That's the type of midfielder I want. I don't want another attacking midfielder that's going to get overrun at Anfield or the Emirates or the Etihad because Casemiro's got too much to do. I don't think Mason Mount's anywhere near defensively good enough to play in a midfield three with Casemiro and Bruno, just the same as Eriksen. So that's what worries me. But if we're getting Mason Mount and Declan Rice, or we're getting Mason Mount and Caicedo, or we're getting Mason Mount and another defensive-minded midfielder, happy days, because you're building your squad. I think I'm probably being a bit realistic here. I think I'm thinking we're only going to get a striker, a midfielder and a defender, and therefore Mason Mount can't be the midfielder. But if we were getting 6 players, we were getting 2 strikers, 2 midfielders and a defender and a goalkeeper, I'd say, yeah, let's get Mason Mount. So it's a little bit of a blind prediction for me. I'm always going to trust the manager, but I don't want this to be our significant midfield signing. I think it's not the profile of player that we need. Melp says we need another CDM, can't just rely on Casemiro, and don't get why we would buy Mount for 55 million when the Leicester players would be cheap. Players like Maddison because of the relegation, says Alex. I'd be happy to get him if we were guaranteed to get Caicedo or Kone as well. Even so, you could get someone like Olmo for less, says James Cave. Yeah. Well, look, if you're just tuning in, this is genuine interest, priority, Ten Hag signing Mason Mount. Man United are pushing hard to get the deal done. They want to get it done quick. I prefer Mount over Maddison. A few people say Maddison over Mount. I think Maddison is massively overrated. I mean, I've watched him the last few games for Leicester, and he couldn't raise a smile. Like he's again. I just look at him and go, yeah, I'm not all in on Maddison. I'm not. I don't think Maddison's better than Mount. I really don't. But look, at the end of the day, it's up to Ten Hag to decide, and we don't know where and why he's going to do things. The price, I would say, is a real issue. 55 million and Chelsea want 80. I mean, this is why Chelsea can spend so much money, because they get so much money for players that aren't worth it. I remember when they sold David Luiz to PSG for 50 million. I was like, how have they managed to do that? He's crap. But Mason Mount, with a year left on his contract and the season he's just had, no more than 50, and that's a lot. Harry Kane with 1 year left on his contract, no more than 80. So Mason Mount can't be 60, 70. He's got to be 50 million pounds. But of course, the thing will be, and Chelsea are very clever here, generate interest, generate a bidding war. If Liverpool want him, Arsenal want him, and Man United want him, he's 24 years of age. He's English. If you can get him back playing like he was a year ago, his value it's 6 years till he's 30. Suddenly, £50 million is quite cheap for what you're getting over the next 6 years, potentially. Would you give up top 4 to Liverpool this season if it meant City didn't get the treble, says Just Me? I'm not answering these. Thanks for the super chat. I'm not answering them. They don't make sense. It's not real life. I'm not doing them anymore. I don't think they're funny. I'm not doing them. I'm really not doing them. The reality is, if we beat Man City in the FA Cup final next week, Man City won't do the treble. I'm not giving up top 4 to Liverpool so Man City don't win the treble. It won't happen. It's stupid. So I'm not answering it. I'm not doing hypotheticals. We're in a real battle where Man City are going to do a treble. We've got to win the FA Cup. Thomas says, why not Ruben Neves? He will be free and Barcelona deal is over, says Thomas. Well, I think Ruben Neves is really interesting. CGI, we'll talk about the sale in a minute. I think that Ruben Neves is very interesting. He's always meant to be going to Barcelona, but then, you know, it never seems to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Ruben Neves is back at Wolves next year, because he just never seems to make that move, does he? He never does. And, you know, how old is Ruben Neves? He's 26. He's not out of contract for another year, so he's in the same position as Mason Mount, so he's not for free. But there's a deal to be done. Mason Mount's not on a free. Ruben Neves is not available on a free transfer, by the way. Don't fall for the crap. Mason Mount and Ruben Neves have both got a year left on their contracts, so check that out. Both of those players could be interesting. But look, my dream summer transfer window signing is Frankie de Jong, and I think in that, you know, you've got to look at it and go, well, he clearly wants. I just think the answer is in Erik ten Hag. We're not the manager of Manchester United. I think he's done an amazing job, Erik, this season, and he spent most of the season playing a number 10 as a number 8. That's why he wants Mount. Mic drop. Sometimes the evidence is straight there in front of your eyes. Why we're signing Mason Mount? Why are we signing Mason Mount? Fucking hell, I don't want Mason Mount. I don't bloody want Mason Mount. And that's the London Man United fans. We don't fucking want Mason Mount. Fuck off. Don't fucking want him. Hello. What has Erik ten Hag spent all season doing? Playing a number 10 at number 8. What is Mason Mount? A mobile attacking midfielder. What is Christian Eriksen? Not mobile, playing at number 8. I think Mount comes in and plays where Eriksen does. I think that's what he wants him for. And I think you know what? I think at Old Trafford it'd work really well. I think when you're at home to teams like, I don't know, bloody Sheffield United or Forest or Bournemouth at Old Trafford, you stick Casemiro there, you push your defensive centre-backs high, you push your full-backs forward, and you play Mason Mount next to Bruno. I think you dominate possession and you win 3 or 4-0. I think that plan works. But it's away from home. It won't work. So who's the player who's going to play where Mount is next to Casemiro at the Etihad? And that's why I don't mind if he wants Mason Mount, because he might see something there that's absolutely essential to the team. But away from home, it won't work. We've seen that this year. So I've sort of worked through the therapy here. If Ten Hag wants Mason Mount, the club should buy him Mason Mount, but he bloody better have a player that's going to come in and be more defensive as well. It's got to be Mount and Rabiot. It's got to be Mount and Rice. I mean, I'd like Mount and Rice. They're good mates. I think that can help on the pitch, but I don't know how we'd do that. Hi Mark, great show as always. Can we look at the free agents and see if we can grab any opportunity for next season, says Karan. I will look at that for you in a moment. Glenny Boy says, I know it's clutching at straws, but have we had the chance to see Donny in the same team as Casemiro? I can't remember many occasions, says Glenny. In the case of Donny van der Beek, I'm one of his biggest champions over the time he's been at Manchester United, but even I would say Donny van der Beek, less than 10% chance this works out at Manchester United. I think there has to be a time where you draw a line, and why I think it's over for Donny is I don't think we can afford to take more time giving him another year. I don't think we can. I don't know what his situation is in relation to. Let's have a look at Donny van der Beek. So Donny has got 2 years left on his contract with the option for a further year. I mean, look, you could give him a new year. You could give him another year. But I just think cash in, really. And look, when I say cash in, he's probably going back to Ajax, isn't he? I don't think he's necessarily going to go and get a really good move. So, but look, you know, as I've said many times before, Erik ten Hag is the manager. If he wants to keep Donny and see something in it, let's see it. But I think most people would say, I'd love Donny van de Beek to work out at Manchester United, but it just doesn't feel like it is. It feels like, that story's been written, to be fair. Tony Martial says, Mark, Ten Hag, excuse me, let me just clear this. Mark, Ten Hag even never played with a clear six at Ajax. Remember the Madrid game with the midfield of... I'm not going to read that, but there you go, Tony. Thank you very much. Mark, do you feel getting Champions League football may convince the Glazers to stay, or would you feel it would work the other way? Got a bad feeling. I'll talk about the ownership in a minute, Ginger. Welcome to Members Club, Wayne. Thank you to all the members who support the channel. Really appreciate that, Wayne. And another member for 9 months, Alan, says, I'd rather keep Sabitzer or Donny than sign Mount. Alan. Kudos over Mount, says David. I think he's too attacking. Look, if this was a year ago, Mason Mount won Player of the Year at Chelsea and was a player I really liked, there has to be a red flag there. But if Eric Ten Hag wants him, go and get him, and we can debate whether it's a good deal or not. All we're saying this morning is, and the thing that excites me, if I'm being honest, is this is the first genuine transfer story where you can go, we are after him. And I said this a couple of days ago. This time last year, we already knew we were after Timber, De Jong, Nunez, and a couple of others. This year, it's been really slow. It's the 24th of May. So whether you want Mount or not, I still think it's a positive, because this is a genuine Manchester United story. I know we want Mason Mount. I know 100% we want Mason Mount. Doesn't mean we're going to get him, but I know 100% we want him, and now it's out there. So whether you want him or not, it's good that Man United are talking genuine transfers, because there is this concern that the summer transfer window could be a problem. So it's good that we're looking at players of that price tag. Whether we can get the deal done or not, whether we should get the deal done or not, I don't know. If we do sign Mason Mount, I back the manager and I back the player. It's as simple as that. I don't know what's going on with my voice this morning. I may as well do it as Sean Dyche. I don't know. I can't get rid of it. But I back the manager on this. Is it where I would go? Honestly, my priority would be to bring in a Caicedo type. Somebody who's a little bit more defensive minded. But on the other hand, our manager, we want to be more attacking. If you buy Caicedo and stick him next to Casemiro, that's a little bit defensive. Like, where's the creativity? If you buy Mason Mount and stick him next to Casemiro, you are instantly more attack-minded. So, yeah, look, trust in the manager. Trust in the manager. Who do I think's better, Sabitzer or Mount? If Mount's the player he was last year, Mount's the better player. I don't think we've seen enough of Sabitzer yet. I'm more than happy to give my opinion, but I am quite relaxed when it comes to this manager. He has my support, he has my backing. I will say I don't agree with things like Wout Weghorst, but I think that was down to money. And the Mason Mount one, I get why people would be dead against it, but I also see why the manager would do it, because as I said, I think the hint is there as to why he would do it. We've been playing a number 10 next to Casemiro all season. Eriksen, for me, has always been a number 10. Never been a centre midfielder. Always been a number 10, and yet he's played centre midfield all season. I think Eric Ten Hag sees Mount as the 10 and Bruno as the 8 because Bruno has played there this season. Well, Hasha, you might be right. Or it could be the other way around. They're both attacking midfielders. One of them plays at 8, you're right. I don't hate Mount and Rabiot for a combined 55 million if it means that there are reinforcements in the rest of the team, says Reese. Hi Mark, first team wingers of United severely lack creativity. When Rashi doesn't score, doesn't do much. Same with Anthony. Well, Harsh is right, and Mason Mount can play off the wing. Sancho and Donny are both very good player, but not suitable to English football, says Minnie. There you go. Well, I want to talk about the sale a bit now, but somebody did just ask, can you have a look at free transfers available this summer? So let me just give you a list of free transfers available this summer. I mean, there's not, as you'd expect, there's not an abundance of quality, to be honest with you. So you've got James Rodriguez, Isco. There's not an amazing amount of. Actually, I don't know what. Why is Tillemans not there? He should be there. I don't know. I don't know how accurate that is because Tillemans should be there, shouldn't he? That might not be it. That might not be completely accurate. Let's have a look. I think it's playing up a little bit here. Yeah, I wouldn't trust that because Tillemans is definitely a free agent. So I'll have a look at that for a future show. That was a bit of a waste of time. Mark, if you could have a face-to-face conversation with the Glazers, what would you say to them, Tony? I don't think there is anything to say. They are what they are. I actually don't think there is a question you could ask the Glazers and get a good answer. They are what they are. I mean, some people would say, why have you treated Man United like this? Why have you let it go to ruin? Why won't you sell it? But we already know the answer. They're just motivated by money. Proud to be a member for 12 months, says Anil. Thanks for all your hard work. Let's hope the Glazers get lost by this Friday so we can focus on the future. And with potential sale news imminent, does this story for a bit of luxury player potentially point to a Jazim sale, says James. Sheikh Jazim Al Thani. I know people call him by many names, but effectively it's the Qatar bid. Which doesn't offend me. Some people get really offended by the fact that it gets called the Qatar bid. I don't understand that. I genuinely think it's in Manchester United's interests that it is funded by Qatar because that's where most of the money will come from anyway. So I'm not really that fussed about that. You might have seen the show last night. If you haven't, check it out. There was a story from The Independent last night that Manchester United potential buyers, Sir Jim Radcliffe and Al Thani, are hopeful that there will be an announcement on the preferred bidder by Friday, if not by the end of the weekend. Has there been any follow-up to the show from last night? There are a few rumours, and I would take these with a large bag of salt, not a pinch of salt, a large bag of salt. But there are a few rumours going round this morning that Al Thani is expected to win this race. That they're very confident that they're going to win this race. Now, this is rumour talk. And I don't... On something this big, I don't take rumours as read at all. I still think until something with credibility comes out, you have to be 50-50. We know both sides are confident. And the rumour mill's been running for 6 months. So, look, at the end of the day, I don't know which way the Glazers are going to go on this. I'm hopeful that they're going to announce a preferred bidder by the end of the week. Hopefully by Friday. Probably Friday evening, because it always seems to be Friday evening. And it's either going to ruin your weekend or, excite you, isn't it? Maybe he wants Bruno at 8. I put a superb performance at the 8 versus Everton, says Dej. Look, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but Bruno Fernandes as a number 8 away at the Etihad will get beat 6-0. Bruno Fernandes at Anfield next to Casemiro as a number 8 will get beat 6-0. I think I've gone a bit Daichi there. I think people just want to pigeonhole football, and every game is a different game. And if you're at home and you're playing a mid-table team and you play Casemiro, Bruno and Mount, go for it. Fill your boots. But if you're away against a difficult side and you play Casemiro, Bruno and Mount, you're going to get stuffed in the midfield. You've got to have... If you want to play like that at home, you've got to play a different way away from home. And that is why this season we've been pounded away from home by the top 10. And at home, we've been, very good. But I don't think Bruno's a number 8. I think he can play that role well. And he might end up playing it next season, but it will not work. It will not work at the Etihad, the Emirates and Anfield. You're going to have to bring in somebody. And it can't be Fred or McTominay. So we've got to bring in a more defensive-minded midfielder this summer. And maybe it's going to be Rabiot. Maybe that's who it's going to be. Mark, thoughts on elevator chat? I think it should be banned. It's not sincere. People aren't actually genuinely interested in your day. Take the stairs, says Jackie G. Would you sell McTominay to Newcastle for 35 million, says Pranay? Yes, I would. Time for a members Mount versus Sabitzer video, says Grant. Good idea. Good idea. Yeah, let me just wrap up on the sale. So on the sale, everything that needed to be said was said last night. The only thing I have got to add to that is there are a few rumours going around on social media today around Al Thani, but if you want to believe that, you might be ahead of the game in preparing your excitement. You might be setting yourself up for disappointment. I remain 50-50 on this. I don't think there's any hint of which way this is going to go. And also, what I would say is, I still think that if Al Thani really wants the club, is it over if they pick Sir Jim on Friday, or is there an opportunity for another bid? Who knows? It all depends whether... It will always come down to whether Joel and Avram want to sell the football club or not. If they don't want to sell, there's no price. If they do, if they're saying to the Rain Group, to say to Qatar, look, we are interested in selling, but it's not the fee that we'd want, so we're going to go ahead with Sir Jim. And then if Al Thani comes back and says, well, there's another $500 million, oh yeah, we'll sell now. So that can happen. But on the other hand, if they're saying, look, we've looked at all the options and it doesn't matter what they offer, we're going to go with Sir Jim because we want to stay at the club, there's nothing Al Thani can offer. And that's the most important bit of information that nobody can provide. Is this club up for sale, full sale? Or is it just that the siblings want out and Joel and Avram were never going to leave? Because if we had that information, then we would know what's coming. If this club's up for sale, it will be bought by Al Thani. If Joel and Avram were never going to leave, then it will be bought by Sir Jim. But we don't have that information, do we? And we've been played for 6 months. And someone would say, why has that never come out? Well, it's been hinted at. There's been numerous outlets saying that Joel and Avram aren't sure. But they should never have gone into this process if they weren't sure. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like going to a nightclub and there's 2 women that you're thinking about asking to marry you. Again, it could be men if that's the way you want to go, but I'm not, so I will use the women thing, and I wouldn't be there anyway because I'm happily married. But if you like women and you are in a club and you're thinking about marrying one of them, and you don't know which one you're going to marry, but you've got a ring in your pocket, what are you doing? You could be swayed by what dress they're wearing. A Dancing Queen could come on. They both go on the dance floor and one of them's had too much to drink and dance like a prat. And you go, I don't want that on New Year's Eve in a few years' time. I'm going to go with the other one. But you might have just missed out because they could have been a demon in the other areas. So you just don't know. I think you should never put yourselves in a position in life where you want to do something, but you're uncertain which one. I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should have an idea of what you want to do. And I think Joel and Avram have walked into this process with, well, let's just wait and see what happens. And it's not fair on anybody. Most of all, it's not fair on us, the fans, but it's also not fair on everybody else who's bidding. You can't go into a situation like selling Manchester United and go, well, we don't really know what we want, so let's just see what offers come in. It's like putting your house on the market and then you get loads of offers and you go, yeah, we don't want to sell. It's knobhead behaviour. It's knobhead behaviour. That's what it is. Ditherers always lose, says Abdul. Well, I mean, as I said, if we knew they wanted to sell, you know what's going to happen. If we knew they were never going to sell, we know what's going to happen. Problem is, we don't know what it is they want to do, and they may not know themselves, which is ridiculous, absolutely stupid. There was somebody in the chat who just said, oh, this is complete and utter nonsense. It's pure spin that we're in for Mason Mount. Actually, it's not. It's actually not. I think that's the significant / excitement of this. I would call this the opening of the transfer window. We felt like this for a while, and we felt like that we're not part of this transfer window, and normally Man United are. But I feel like today, and we've been hinted about this for a couple of days now, but I feel like this morning the transfer window started for Manchester United, because that is genuine interest. I know it's genuine interest because for whatever reason I always seem to get quite good Chelsea information, and yesterday I got very good information from Chelsea that Mason Mount was a target for Manchester United and Liverpool and Arsenal, and I I think Bayern Munich, but that might be Declan Rice. I might be mixing up the stories there. But and then this morning, out it comes. So we are genuinely interested in Mason Mount. It's not spin. You might want it to be spin. You might not want Ten Hag to go for a player like that, but we are genuinely interested in Mason Mount. Doesn't mean we'll get him. I mean, at the end of the day, what I would say is, and we've not mentioned this, William Turner says, I love your analogies. I'm getting married in September. Please give some good advice. I love the United since 1993. Are we in for Vlahovic? We're not in for Vlahovic, no. What do you think about Danilo from NFO? Says Jewel. I don't think anything about it. Advice for getting married. Make sure you're getting married to the right one, William. I know your partner might not like me saying that, but trust me, don't marry the wrong one. Don't do it out of guilt or, you think you can't do any better. Make sure it's the right one. Make sure it's the right one. High pollen today, apparently. That's probably the problem. Mark, off topic. Where do you get your replica jersey from? Says Sean from Ireland. I'm not wearing a replica jersey. I never wear replica jerseys. I don't know who you think I am. Who do you think I am? But going back to what we were talking about there, yeah, Mason Mount is a genuine thing. But what would be really interesting about Mason Mount is we never win the race when there's other cars in the race. And Liverpool want Mount, Arsenal want Mount, and apparently, Man United want Mount. So we shouldn't win this race anyway because we're crap in this sort of thing. So if we won this, and a lot of people will be going, well, that's the get out of jail then because I don't want Mason Mount. But the funny thing is, if we did win this, it would be quite impressive because there are other clubs in the Premier League that want him that are other top 4 clubs. So I was only saying the other day how Man United are terrible. When was the last time we actually won a genuine race for a player that other clubs around our level wanted? I know we beat Brentford to Eriksen last summer, but come on. So, yeah, it'd be very interesting. I personally think the best place for Mason Mount to go is Liverpool because their midfield has got 3 spots in it. Like, they've genuinely got a spot there. Arsenal don't really have a spot for him. But then again, Man United probably do have a spot if he's going to play where Eriksen plays. Mark, if you were Ten Hag, how many signings would you demand? And do you think Eric would change how many signings he's asking for from either owner? I think if you're the manager, you hand your list in. You don't think about Qatar, you don't think about Sir Jim. You put your list in, and then you get what you get. So if I was Eric Ten Hag, I wouldn't be thinking, well, the Glazers are in charge, so I'll only use £100 million, but Al-Thani's in charge, so I'll use 300 million. I would say, to turn us into a title challenger that competes Manchester City, this is what we need. And I would say, obviously, I need a goalkeeper to challenge David De Gea. I need a centre-back that's right-footed. I need 2 midfielders, really, and I need 2 strikers. And that's what I'd be saying. I don't think I need a right-back because I don't understand the Wan-Bissaka thing. I probably do need a winger, but not this summer. I've got to figure out what I'm doing with my wingers before then because I've got 2 young players coming through, Sancho, Rashford and Anthony. So I've got to work with them a little bit more. But 2 midfielders, 2 attackers, a centre-back and a goalkeeper would be what I would have on my list for this summer. I know I won't get them all, but that's what I would put on. I'd go and get Kovacic. He changed the game against us earlier in the season. Apparently he's cheaper and he's better in my opinion, says Ira. Well, look, I was talking to Alex Goldberg, who's a Chelsea fan and does the byline. We always do a Chelsea preview, so I was speaking to him yesterday. Which might give you a little bit of information on where I'm getting a lot of information from. But ultimately, he is very well connected around Chelsea. And we were talking about who my favourite player, what player I think is the best player at Chelsea at the moment. And I always say Kovacic. And I said not this year. I'd have to say Thiago Silva. And he was saying, yeah, Kovacic is another one like Mount. They've just completely fell off. And there is definitely the stance to say, well, Kovacic at Man United, I would take him in a heartbeat. So I think Man City have been linked to Kovacic. So Pep's not stupid either. I think Kovacic is a really good player. It's just he's had a bad season. I think he's only 28. So I would take Kovacic, yeah. I don't think we've been linked to him, but I think Kovacic next to Casemiro would be bloody fantastic. But we're not linked to him. How many players do we generally need to start competing? I'm still shaken from some of our losses this year. Do you think 300 million gets it done? Says William. I think the best way to look at United is to go, what... Everyone always looks forward. Everyone always goes, what do we need for next season? The way I look at it, and you can only really look at it for the next couple of weeks, the way I look at it is, because you've got the evidence of the season that's just been. So I look at the season that's just been and I go, what could we have added to this? I think this is the best way of doing it, by the way. What could we have added to this season to compete with Man City? That's the way I look at it. I think people look forward, but I always look at this season. If I'd had this, this and this, we would have challenged for the title. Now, considering we are, 20 points off Man City? What, is it 20 points off City at the moment? Maybe a little bit more. I think Harry Kane up front definitely would have got us more points, or an Osman, doesn't matter. I think the midfielder to go to the Etihad, to go to Anfield, to sit next to Casemiro, or replace Casemiro when he was suspended. So Caicedo. I think if you had Caicedo and Kane this season, that would have made a big difference. We still wouldn't have competed with City because I would have needed another striker because we didn't have a striker. So Kane on his own, if he pulls his hamstring, who else plays? So I need two strikers. I've got Caicedo. I do need another midfielder. I probably do need a Caicedo and a Mount. I probably do need those type of midfielders, a more attacking one and a more defensive one. So I need two strikers and I need two midfielders. And I go back to what I said before. I also need a right-footed centre-back because, Maguire's played a few games this season and that's been a problem in itself. So two midfielders, two attackers and a centre-back for me are the priorities that would have improved us this season. And I think with those players, we would have been a lot closer to Man City. But more importantly, I think we would have been above Arsenal, which would have put us closer to Man City. So that's what we need to do in the summer, in my opinion. How many players... so we've done that from William Turner. Marriage. Don't do anything you wouldn't want done to you. Good luck, says Angie. Okay. And on that bombshell. Yeah, marriage. Great stuff. Right, don't forget, we're sponsored by Boohoo Man, 40% off with the code Goldbridge. I'm wearing my hoodie today and I'm absolutely loving it. It is quite warm out, but I've got nothing underneath the hoodie, so it just feels like nice and cool and relaxed. I'm just going to check something because I've just remembered there is a pregnant... There is a podcast. There is not a podcast. There is a press conference coming out today at 12:45 with Erik ten Hag. So we'll be live at 1 o'clock. Yeah, so we will be live at 1 o'clock for that. And obviously we'll have the normal 8 o'clock show, which is great. I'm really enjoying the shows at the moment. I think, you know what? I've got to say I'm feeling enthusiastic. I know there's no reason to around the sale, but I do love the transfer window. And I feel like this one was just... I had a lot of trepidation towards it. I felt like we weren't really in it. I was seeing what Arsenal were doing and Liverpool and other clubs, and they're getting ready to do stuff, and I felt like we weren't in it. And whether you want Mason Mount or Declan Rice or not, some of the stories that are coming out in the last 2 days really do show that we are in this transfer race, and I feel like it started today. What do you think about Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio, says Aidan? I've got nothing to say about that. You've ruined my mood now. You bloody ruined it. Bloody ruined. I was in a good mood, now I'm in a bad mood. Bloody Milinkovic-Savic. We're not in 2017 now. That was a Jose Mourinho target. We're not in for bloody Milinkovic-Savic. Not a chance. Whoever suggested Suter needs a slap, says Jesse. Oh yeah, we're not taking another big centre-back from Leicester for over money. You're looking super handsome today, says Korean Life. Thank you very much, mate. Have a great day, everybody, and I will speak to you a little bit later on. Don't forget the 8 o'clock show tonight as well. They've been fantastic, and let's hope we get some more positive news today. Erik ten Hag at lunchtime as well. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.